Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Overwatch Weekly. Quite a few things to cover this week. It's been a relatively busy week, though most of the things are not too big. Of course, the Overwatch League's second season kicked off this past week on Thursday, and it will once again be back this Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific, or 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. So tune in there on the Overwatch League Twitch channel. I believe the final game of the day, Thursday, will be on Disney XD, as well as the first and second games on Sunday, if you want to check it out there as well. But that is what it is. If you want to look into that, you can look into that. But let's talk about the first major thing, which is patch notes. And when looking at these patch notes, there's really two major changes. This is a live patch note, not a PTR patch note as well. Though, interestingly enough, the PTR did update, but there are just currently no patch notes that I've been able to see. So I assume nothing really got added into the PTR, but it's weird because there's nothing new on the PTR, which means there'd be no reason for the PTR, but maybe we just haven't gotten it yet. But keep your eyes out on that, just looking. But the live servers, we now have the new Assault map, Paris, which is honestly such a beautiful map. I really like the map. It's fun. I love the first point if you're on attack, especially if you play supports, unlike Lucio or Brig, because the point is right on the water, and you know what that means? Boops galore. I guess Orisa, Diva, they can have some fun with that too. Roadhog. So it's a very fun map. I really like it, so check it out if you have not seen that. But next is the major update to the heroes in this game. This update. There's no hero-specific update, just a general update in which they reprioritized the hit points for heroes. Now, what that means is, in the way Overwatch hit points work, is that there are 6 different types of hit points essentially that all contribute differently to the hero's health. So you have your normal kind of bland health, that is your white health on your health bar. Over top of that, you can have some other types of hit points. You can have armor, which reduces damage that you take from certain types of attacks. Obviously, that was nerfed in the last patch, but it's essentially every hit that you take can be reduced by 3 points, and that's the whole thing. But armor has some damage reduction, but it is not something that will regenerate on its own. Then you have shields, which do not reduce any kind of damage, but they will regenerate on their own without a health pack or a support healing you. Whereas armor can only come back if you are healed up by a health pack or a support. With the health, the armor, and the shields, there are also temporary or non-recoverable versions of those. You can see this on the screen. You can kind of see that there's a color-coded set of boxes. So those are the way that the health and hit points work. There is technically temporary health in the priority order, but there is no hero or ability that gives temporary health to heroes. So that's a bit of an interesting thing to discuss. But with this update, they reprioritized the order. They reordered health and hit points. I say health, but technically health is one of the types of hit points, so it's a little confusing. But obviously the old order, you can see it on the top here, as you know in Overwatch, your health goes down from right to left. So this would be basically if you had a full health bar with every type of health you could possibly have, this is what it would look like, and this is how you would lose it. So the first thing you'd lose on the right is temporary shields. Those are the shields that are granted to you, for example, by Lucio's sound barrier, so you would lose those. Those are temporary, they're non-recoverable. Even if you have support healing you when you're getting attacked, you will never get those shields back unless Lucio's sound barrier were to be activated again. Then you have your recoverable shields, which are the parts of the hit point bar for heroes like Zenyatta, Symmetra, Zarya. They have shields that will, over time, naturally regenerate without any kind of health pack. Then you have temporary armor, which is currently only granted by Brigitte, either through Rally or her repair pack. Obviously, that has a limited duration already, so you will get that, and then it'll go away after a short amount of time. For Rally, that's 30 seconds. For the repair pack, I don't actually know how long that lasts. I want to say like 15, but it's probably less than that. Then you have your recoverable armor, which heroes like Brigitte, Reinhardt, Orisa, they have those on their hit point bar. Then temporary health, which currently does not actually exist in the game, but it is on the priority order, so I want to mention it. And then you have the recoverable health all the way at the end. That is the last type of hit point that you would lose. Now the order is changed. Now all of the recoverable types of hit points are going to be at the bottom of the priority order, and all of your non-recoverable or temporary types of hit points are going to be at the top of the order. So temporary shields are still going to be the first thing you're going to lose, but now you're going to lose temporary armor and temporary health before you get into your recoverable shields and your recoverable armor and your recoverable health. So in reality, this doesn't affect too much in a lot of ways, because in reality you can really see that two of the things don't change at all, and that is the temporary shields and the recoverable health. Those don't move in any capacity. And because temporary health is currently not in the game at all, recoverable armor also doesn't get affected because it still lies right before recoverable health, where it did when temporary health didn't exist. And even if temporary health is added into the game in the future, it won't really matter because it won't really have been affected. So the old order essentially is just temporary shields, recoverable shields, temporary armor, recoverable health. Where this comes into be a major issue or a change is with heroes like Symmetra or Zenyatta or Zarya who have recoverable shields, and heroes like Brigitte who grant temporary armor, because if Brigitte is to give armor now to a Zenyatta or to a Zarya or to a Symmetra, that armor is going to go above their shields when it used to go below. And that was a big reason why Dive died to Goats and why Goats became so good, was because heroes like Zarya could get this armor and it would be below their main shields and they would never lose it. So then they added the 30 seconds to kind of counter that. But that's, in general, that's why this change really came to be. So if that doesn't make a lot of sense, I am going to make a video kind of talking about what this all means. That's going to come out on Friday, so stay tuned for that if you are curious and that is something you want to know a little bit more about. But I want to move on to the next story, which I have a series of smaller little stories here to talk about. The Overwatch Twitter account announced over the week that there are Hasbro minifigures, or Hasbro figures, whatever you want to call them, action figures, coming. It's the Overwatch Ultimates line. There is a Lucio, Sombra, Tracer, Reinhardt, Pharah, Mercy, and a Blackwatch Reaper. So those are your Wave 1 agents for the Hasbro collection. Then you also, from Hasbro's Twitter itself, the announcement of Monopoly Gamer Overwatch Edition, which it's not the easiest to tell exactly what heroes are available, but it looks like, from what I can tell, it looks to me like Reaper, Tracer, Diva, Winston, and maybe Lucio, but I'm not 100% positive. But that to me looks like the 6 playable people, and then of course the spots along the map are different, or along the board are different Overwatch maps. And there's also a video that the Overwatch YouTube channel put out of a Lego Busan diorama, so of the map, in-game Busan, a diorama of the map made out of Lego. So those 3 things are linked in the description if you want to check any of those out. If you're curious in pre-orders for the action figures or for the Monopoly, you can find that down there. Or if you want to check out the Lego Busan, that's down there as well. I don't know what's going on with me, but those are down below if you want to check those out, as always. Up next, we have some developer activity on the Blizzard forums. Both Michael Chu and Jeff Kaplan were active on the Blizzard forums. I'm not going to talk about Michael Chu's stuff. It's all kind of lore-based things. Some stuff about Wrecking Ball, some stuff about Omnix on there. But there's some really cool stuff here that Jeff Kaplan posted. I'm going to be highlighting 4 posts in particular that Jeff commented on. Some of them smaller than others, some of them even relating with other games, in this case, Apex Legends. So I'm going to try to cover these pretty quickly, but the first post comes from the user Fritz, who says, "Why nobody likes 3 to 4 DPS? Solo healing / tanking feels horrible to play, because there's no way any of your 3 to 4 DPS are going to peel for you or actually contest the objective. Most damage players run off and do their own thing and don't actually support the team-oriented aspects of the game. If triple or quad DPS ever becomes a standard meta, you'll find that no one wants to play tank or healer anymore, because constantly being focused and flanked without any help isn't any fun to play." And Jeff responded to this with a very good response, in my opinion, an opinion that I hold very, very deeply. But I like this his response, which was that he said they actually, in early development of Overwatch, tried a mode called 4-1-1. Because it limited comps to 1 tank, 1 healer, and the rest DPS. And what they found was that it was not fun, and they did not enjoy it. And he says the way the game is tuned, the importance it placed on the lone tank or lone support was too significant. Also, we've all evolved as players since 2016, and we're much better these days at melting the tank or melting the healer than we used to be. Once your lone tank or healer died, it felt like you were forced to completely regroup with no chance of pulling out a win. It was a good experiment for us to try and led to a lot of good discussion, but yeah, wasn't fun. A person responded to this Jeff response saying, this is Agnostica on the forums, saying, "Were you guys expecting 2-2-2 to be the standard go-to composition when the game launched? And does the team have an opinion about what distribution among the 3 roles is best for the game?" And Jeff responded by saying, "Well, just speaking for myself here, but I expected 1 to 2 tanks and 1 to 2 supports with more variance. I also expected hero switching to be more often. Naively, I didn't expect maining and one-tricking to be so dominant. We imagine a world where players would be okay with Torbjorn on defense, but not playing him on attack. The maining / one-trick mindset led to us having to rework those characters to fit with how the game eventually evolved to be played. I guess what I am saying is that we hoped to be able to create more highly situational characters with the thought that players would switch in situations where those heroes weren't as viable. We like the direction things evolved, and in hindsight, it seems obvious that they would evolve that way. It's not that one direction is good or bad, they're just different directions, and we adapted to what the player base was doing, rather than fighting against their instincts." So that's Jeff on multi-DPS compositions and his thoughts on them. I really like what he says. I think he obviously makes some good points, and I like getting insight on what he has to say about what's going on, but I mean, we saw the changes that were made and how it was impacted by the different heroes, and mainly heroes like Torbjorn or Symmetra, who had reworks because of their situationalness. Next is a post. I cannot talk. I was about to say pick, because this post is titled "Genji's pick rate in a tank meta proves he's OP." This comes from Captain Planet, or Capt Planet, C-A-P-T, Planet, on the Overwatch forums. And he says, "For the last month, Genji's got a higher pick rate at GM than Sombra, Reaper, Torbjorn, Doomfist, Symmetra, Pharah, Soldier 76, Junkrat, and Bastion combined. If Genji should be bad in any meta, it's a tank-heavy meta, but he's thriving in it. This is the worst possible meta for Genji, and he's still the strongest DPS. When is Blizzard finally going to admit Genji is overtuned and needs a nerf?" To which Jeff Kaplan responded, "We don't currently perceive Genji to be a balance problem." And their Captain Planet got angry, saying that he's a 3500 McCree main, a hero that's supposed to counter Genji, and according to you, are you really saying that I need to get good when I'm in the top 4% of the player base and play a supposed counter? So I'll let you think about that and what he said, but I don't think Genji's an issue, so that's just my opinion, but I think that's the end of that. Next is a post about the Apex Legends ping system in Overwatch. So you'll be getting some images here of this just because it makes it just obviously you kind of need it to understand the post. But this post says, and it is by Heichi. For those who haven't played Apex Legends yet, they have a ping system where you look at something and hold the wheel button of your mouse and you see this. So that is the image you're seeing on screen now. So all of these mean, and starting from the top and going clockwise, at least I assume it's clockwise. I haven't actually played Apex Legends, so I don't know if that is the correct order, but it seems like the most logical order. So they mean go, enemy, looting this area, attacking here, going here, defending this area, watching here, and someone's been here. After you stop holding the wheel button on the ping, you want that area will show up that ping, and your hero, legend, and Apex will talk as well. I should say, I don't really like the way this person wrote this. It's not the best written, but anyway. You can then remove the ping by looking at it and pressing the wheel button, and the hero will say never mind or something similar. I think this would be an amazing feature in Overwatch. What do you think? To which Jeff Kaplan responded in a response that I really like. And he said, Respawn did such a good job with the ping system in Apex Legends. It works really well. Back in early development of Overwatch, we actually had a very similar ping system. Ours was inspired from MOBAs like League of Legends and Heroes of the Storm. We eventually removed it because of a few issues. One, with 6 people on the team, it got very spammy if more than a few people were using it. I can already see that being an issue in today's game, but yeah, I'm glad I took that out if that was a big problem with it. Number 2, the geography of Overwatch maps as well as the engagement distance is fairly constrained. This made pinging upwards challenging and often frustrating. An example is standing at the gate of point A of Temple of Anubis and trying to ping the upper ledge above the gate entering point B. Our engagement distances tend to be in the 10 to 30 meter range. For perspective, it's about 45 meters all the way across the entire dojo in Hanamura B. In Apex, you have very long engagement distances and very big maps. It makes it easier to ping below you. To which he closed with, it would be fun to revisit the system and see if we can make something like that workable. We do have some designs for improving and customization to the communication wheel that we're trying to get in, but we're always appreciative of feedback and suggestions. So, I don't know if a ping system would really be as great, but I think it would be easier if you were saying like a good like group up here that you could kind of place at an area. You could like look at a certain point and say, here's where I want to group up, and not just stand there and say group up here and keep spamming group up here. It'd be easier if you could just put a ping down and someone, that way people would know kind of where to go. But that's really all I think this game would need, not a full kind of thing, unless it was like push here, or I don't really think it's needed as much in Overwatch. More just like a distance of like, this is where we're going to go, this is where we're going to push from, or whatever. Final Jeff Kaplan blog post, though, for the day is a post where someone said, unpopular opinion, Rialto map should be scrapped and or designed. In my short time viewing Contenders and OWL matches featuring Rialto, very important that he said short time, and it's also important to note that this was before the weekend games of Overwatch League Week 1, it's for Season 2. I have not seen one Rialto map go to completion, aka all the way to point C. And then he goes on how the map is poorly designed, and he and a college professor are looking up what Rialto is really like, both in history and the way it is today, and then, yeah. And Jeff Kaplan just responded with, the best clapback I have ever seen. Rialto balance stats for the past month, 49.35% attackers, 50.65% defenders. That pretty much shuts down that whole thing that the map is unbalanced. So the final thing for today is a story related to Overwatch Contenders. So I mentioned several weeks ago that there are some things changing with Contenders. They're doing things differently. So let's run down what is new. So the league structure is changing. So it says, in 2019, all 8 Contenders regions will determine their champions over the course of 2 competitive seasons. Each season will culminate in an epic tournament that pits each region's top teams against one another. So for 2019 Season 1, you have the Trials, where that's basically, you have Contenders teams and teams from the Open Division that then fight to compete in the actual Contenders season. That is then followed by the regular season, where the top performing teams from the Trials phase will fill the remaining slots that are left from the teams that were in the playoffs or that were given the spot. There's a little bit of some differences specifically with the way the season's going to work with how they're putting teams in there, so I recommend you read this if you want a full detail. I'm kind of doing a TLDR, but you'll have 8 teams in the regular season, to which the top 6 will make the playoffs of each region, and they'll compete in a single elimination bracket, and one champion will be crowned in each region. So at the end of Season 1 of Contenders, we will get the Atlantic and Pacific Showdowns, where the top teams from Europe, North America, and South America will compete in a double elimination tournament in the Atlantic Showdown, and the Pacific Showdown will consist of the same type of tournament, but with teams from Australia, China, Korea, and Asia Pacific. And then in the Season 2 for Contenders, you will have another Trials stage, where they're actually going to implement a new Trials format in which the top 4 teams from Open Division and the bottom 2 teams from the 2019 season compete against each other in a round-robin style tournament to fill the remaining slots for the regular season. And Academy teams are not exempt from relegation and must participate in Trials if necessary for their opportunity to compete in the coming season. And then the regular season and playoffs will work in the same way. The teams who made the playoffs in the first season of Contenders 2019 will automatically earn a spot in the regular season for Season 2, and then the last 2 teams will be decided by the 2 teams that finish the best in the trials. Playoffs are the same type of thing, and then you get to the Gauntlet, which is the pinnacle of Contenders in 2019, which will consist of 10 teams competing in group stages and ultimately a double elimination bracket, and only top performing regions will send their teams from Season 2 to the Gauntlet, and performance in the Pacific and Atlantic Showdowns will determine region-specific invites. More details will be provided at a later date. So that will be coming later. If you want an idea of when this kind of stuff will be taking place, Contender Season 1 will take place during Stages 1 and 2 of the Overwatch League, and Season 2 will take place during Stages 3 and 4, which then means the Atlantic and Pacific Showdowns will take place during the Overwatch League All-Star break, and that will give the Gauntlet the ability to happen at the end of the Overwatch League playoffs, and there's some good prize money. More than $3 million in prizes available throughout 2019, and it has been reallocated to more heavily reward top-performing teams, and the Atlantic and Pacific Showdowns will include a $125,000 US prize pool, while the Gauntlet will have a $250,000 US prize pool. So that is everything from this past week. Quite a few things. Like I said, I'm going to go a little more in detail on this patch thing, but if you enjoyed this video and want more videos like this in the future, consider liking and subscribing. But I'll see you all next time. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and bye-bye.